So yeah, I'm Dr. Chris Saintville, and I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. I have 2 daughters, 19 and 20, and I have a son who's 4 years old. Married with my wife, married for like 10 years, together for like 15. And I work here at the University of Buffalo, and I'm an assistant professor in the School of Social Work, and I engage in research and I teach. And my research focuses on black masculinity, where I look at black men and victimization, as well as black men and socialization, and how we can kind of socialize black men, to socialize black men to be better men, And then my focus on victimization is how do I prevent black men from shooting each other and engage in experiencing victimization, and how we could use that to help them grow and become better men. Historically, black men get a bad rap, right, in this country, right? The anecdotal stories that we hear about black men that kind of that kind of fill up the airwaves are pretty much negative. For the most part, when we talk about black men, we just kind of hear about the lack of fathering and the absence of fathers, rather than talk about the fathers that are around. So for me, what this does is this connection between black masculinity and fatherhood around this work that we're doing with Nurturing Fathers is we're reframing the narrative. We're trying to change the narrative. We're trying to bring in the stories of men who are being good fathers, who are taking on their responsibility. And we're just trying to change the narrative. That doesn't take away from the fact that there are men who are not doing the right thing, but we're trying to shed some light on the guys that are doing well, right? And it makes me look at the way that I parent. It makes, this whole experience with Nurturing Fathers makes me question, my skills as a father and the kind of behavior that I engage in. And then it makes me want to do better, It makes me want to do better. And I feel like I learn a lot from those guys that go into the groups. When I conduct the focus groups with them, I've learned a lot. And there's some things that I'm taking from them. I don't think they know that. But there's some things that I take up from them. We all got something to learn. Black men have a lot to teach the world, if it's willing to listen. And they can't just focus on the negative stuff. And like, how often do we hear about white fathers who are fatherless? How often do we hear about that? How often do you hear about the Hispanics? It seems like with the black men, they just keep pounding the lack of responsibility and the fatherlessness. But there's a lot of us that are doing well, and we're just trying to change the narrative. We're trying to change the narrative and let you see what we are doing well, and not focus so much on that negative all the time, like the way the media and all these different outlets do. All of us need to be mindful. That we are all models and that we're all being watched. And I think if we all get that message, I think we'll start getting on the right direction. I think we'll get it to a better place. So for my son, what I do, I spend time with him. I spend as much time with him as possible every day. I spend time with him every day. He asks about me, and whenever he's around his mother, he's always asking, "Where's my dad?" And he wants to call me, and then he wants to tell his mother, "Tell dad to come meet us at the playground or meet us here and there," because he always wants to show off for me. And I take advantage of that, because when he's younger, he wants this attention. He wants to be around. As he gets older, he's not. If I don't give him that attention now, when he gets older, he's not going to want it. He's not going to want that relationship with me. So I'm building the foundation for, having this time with him now as much as I can, and trying to teach him as much as I can now and spend as much as I can, so that as he gets older, this is what he's used to, that we have this relationship. For myself, what would I tell myself? So what I'm going to tell my son is I'm going to keep telling myself what I'm telling him now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an academic now. I'm a professor, so I teach him word. We got word of the day every day. I'm very big on his academics, and I want him to start learning calculus. When he turns 7 and 8, I have a friend that teaches math, so I want him to learn calculus. So I have different expectations for him I have very different expectations for him, and I want to create a community around him that's gonna give him the highest likelihood of being successful. You know, when I was younger though, I didn't have a relationship with my father that I had a relationship with my son. My father and I, you know, just, you know, my father lived with me. He wasn't an absent father, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, so I'll tell you like this, right? I had friends, you know, growing up who never met their father, you know what I'm saying? And then they'd be like, yo, you know, they wonder where their father was at, you know, they wonder if their father loved them. And then I would tell my friends, like, well, how would you feel if you live with your father and you knew he ain't love you? Like some of you, I consider some of my friends lucky because, you know, my father was an abusive dude. He was abusive. I got 3 sisters. I got 4 sisters, 3 older sisters and my youngest sister. And then I was the only boy, but we all got it. And so he would give it to my sisters, you know what I'm saying? Like really bad, you know? So we didn't really feel loved like that. We felt like he was a guy that, you know, he had his issues and then he would take it out on us. And so I didn't have that father-son relationship that I had with my son, with my dad. And so as a result of that, you know, I was easily influenced by role models in my neighborhood. And those were my fathers. Not my biological father was just a dude that just maybe he, you know, fed. I think my mom's worked. My father didn't really work much. So like he was just in the house. But the guys that, you know, the guys who I model my masculinity behind, like the way my son's trying to model his masculinity behind me, I didn't model my masculinity behind my father. I modeled my masculinity behind my role models, right? So what I would tell me when I was younger is what I would say is that, you know, I would probably say come hang out with me. I'd probably say, come hang out with me, come see me, you know, because I didn't get it from my father, I had to get it from someplace else. You know what I mean? I was hungry for socialization. I was hungry for a man. You know what I'm saying? To teach me how to be a man. And so, yeah, that's what I do now, right? I tell young guys that's out there that you know I happen to have relationships with, you know, and I know their father not around, or you know, even whether or not their father is around or not around, they out there. They're out here in these streets, right? I was like, yo, just come chill with me, or why don't you go to breaking barriers, or you know what I'm saying, or come try to do something positive, because I didn't have really nothing positive going on when I was younger. I didn't really have nothing positive going on. And my father kind of pushed me, my family, the situation that I had in my family with the abuse and everything kind of pushed me out into the streets, you know? And so, yeah, me and myself, my older sister, we all ended up getting kicked out the house. And my little sister ended up there by herself, you know? We all got kicked out the house by my father, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you know, a dude, when you got a kid that's going through abuse, you know, physical abuse, you know what I'm saying, and he's not feeling loved, and he's just out there, all he needs really is somebody to talk to somebody that really act like they care. And that's what I would do, you know, when I bump into Chris's today, because there's a lot of them out there. So I just be like, yo, you want to talk or something? You know, let's talk. The first time I went to county jail, a correctional officer pulled me aside when I went to jail, and he remembered me from a Scared Straight program. So I went through a Scared Straight. I went through there one time, and then it was funny. I went through the Scared Straight program, and then, you know, it's supposed to scare you. When I was going through the cell block, my friends was in there. They were saying, "What's up?" The CEOs got upset because I messed up the whole program and they pulled me out or whatever. But then I ended up in there and I turned 16, and the CEO remembered me. And then, you know, he pulled me aside to talk to me. He told me I was different. He was like, "There's something different about you. Like, you ain't like the rest of these knuckleheads." And I think that was like the first time I think somebody told me that, you know, that I was different from what people were telling me. And then from there, I went upstate. There was a guy upstate named Daryl Pinkston. He was the manager of this. I was in non-secure detention. He was the manager of this cottage. And then he gave me a picture of Malcolm X. He had a picture of Malcolm X on his wall. He gave it to me. And then he took me under his wing, and he was like, "You a good kid," and everything. And he would rough me up and teach me some things. And he said that I was gonna be something. Every day is a different day, and sometimes you have to. Every day is a different day, and you have to try harder every day, right? Like, you have to try. It's easy to get complacent and think that you're the greatest parent and then fall back like you don't have nothing to work on. That's nonsense. We all have something to work on. We all have a ton of things to work on. And the day that you get up and feel like you don't have to work on it is the day that you fail. You know what I mean? So it's a journey. And like, the first step is knowing what matters. What really matters, right? And what really matters is not what people out there think. It ain't what your boys think. It ain't what social media think. It ain't what the world think. It's really what your kid think, and the mother of your children think, whether you with her or not. You know, and how you make that kid feel about you every day. You know, and how they feel about you kind of plays into how they feel about themselves, because the more they feel that you love them, the more secure they feel. You know what I mean? And when they feel secure and they're able to just live out their life, and they know that they can depend on you, I mean, that's the greatest feeling in the world. That's what you should care about. So the first step is knowing what matters. And what matters is like nothing outside that kid and your family really should matter as much as that, right? That's 100%. Anything else should be under 70%. That should be 100%. So the first step is understanding what matters, and not to care what people, you can't care what people think. So long as you understand that you're doing the right thing for your kid as a father, and that you playing the right role, and that you're giving your kid the best chance to become as good a father and a model as you are.